family were spotted at a state-owned residence in Island Beach State Park, causing angry visitors to take to Twitter. The governor of Maine also implementing a partial shutdown until today. John, what do you make of these budget impasses? It just shows that there's, by the way, there's Chris Christie was photographed sitting on the beach. And we could get into actually what happened with these shutdowns, because it's the Democratic Assembly leader who is responsible for the government shutdown. It's not just Chris Christie's fault.
These shutdowns are never popular, and it's something for the federal government and Congress to keep in mind as, you know, we head into the fall and we have a potential debt limit problem looming. It just doesn't work for the public when they don't get their beaches and parks.
But to be very fair, a lot of the time that they do a shutdown, for political effect, they deliberately close the things that are most visible to the public, so that they're trying to create the angst to create the pressure.
In the situation in New Jersey is interesting because it shows how there's complete gridlock over pretty small things that you would think that Republicans and Democrats would be able to get on board with. So Prieto's the Assembly leader. He's a Democrat, and he won't vote on the budget that the Senate in New Jersey passed. Chris Christie wants excess surplus funding from Horizons Blue Cross Blue Shield in the state, which is a nonprofit, to go for things like rehab centers. And that is the gist of the fight in New Jersey over the shutdown. I mean, it's just it's appalling.
This acrimony is nationwide, and it needs to stop. We see it in Washington, and then we see it in Trenton, we see it in Maine, we see it everywhere else. You know, once upon a time, parties used to work together. Small things like this didn't stop them. Now they're making them excuses to stop. Frankly, I look at Christie on the beach. He's trolling us at this point, but he needs to think about what this means for his party.
We should point out that beach that he's sitting on is a state park. It's one of the public beaches. But he was out there, and he was actually asked about it. And it was just back and forth over the weekend. But
it's ridiculous.
It's just bad form. You'd think he'd find some other place to lay low when he's going to be getting headlines.
I'm not sure that he cares.
He thinks it's funny.
Yeah, I'm not sure. But again, it's not just New Jersey. It's Maine. It's Connecticut. It's Illinois.
Well, there's been a culture in the political class, right, that assumes that the money will come from someplace, and they're better off creating the giveaway and being Santa Claus by obligating themselves not only to the programs that people want, but then they also cut deals with the pensions for government employees that are insane and unsustainable. But these are their obligations that are now coming home to roost. And this isn't just going to be these states. It's pervasive in the way governments have irresponsibly negotiated their costs.
We should say that the good news is that states balance their budgets on an annual basis. I mean, there's some tricks and gimmicks that they do along the way, but it's a much different story than the federal government, which runs up hundreds of billions of dollars every year.
Right,
so,
and last week, I'm going to move on to the national economy, but last week you have now some Republican senators saying we can't get rid of that tax hike on investment income that's in Obamacare, that's going to be their sticking point. Their sticking point's going to be we're in favor of a tax hike. That's essentially what they're saying. So I was why are you laughing at me?
No, I'm not laughing at you. I'm laughing at the situation. Come on, Dagan.
Look, turning to the national economy, this is something that we can all get on board with. The president touting the strength of the markets, tweeting this: stock market at an all-time high, unemployment at lowest level in years, wages will start going up, and our base has never been stronger. We are coming off a really great run for the stock market, John, in the first 6 months of the year. We got a jobs report that's coming out at the end of this week.
Right. You know, it's a little puzzling because the market rallied at the end of last year on Trump's election. He hasn't been able to move his agenda on health care and taxes, and yet the market continues to go up. I mean, I think what we're seeing is investors are responding to the idea that even though interest rates are starting to rise, they're not going to go up very much, and global growth is picking up.
Michael, we did have a little bit of a panic in the bond market last week about the ECB and other central banks withdrawing this massive amount of crisis stimulus. That even with the ECB, they're still pumping into the market.
Yeah, well, I have a different viewpoint on that. I'm not going to view it as a panic. Here's how I'm going to view it. And the reason I was laughing in that last segment was we're here talking about...
You were laughing at me as well. No, I'm just kidding.
Come on. So we're talking about curbing spending here and how entitlements are out of control, and yet the bond market is not really punishing that yet. The bond market has been very strong to the point where there was excessive bullishness in the market, and that's when we started seeing a little bit of an unwind there. We started seeing investors look for an excuse. I still said at the ECB comments, we're taking the wrong way. I don't think they're going to start tightening anytime soon. We see the data's better. The inflation data's not better there. So, to me, the bond market, is going to see a hiccup. I'm short-term bearish bonds for the sole reason that everyone else is bullish. And that's what's going on. But overall,
the other big story in the markets here is that the dollar softened a lot in the first half of the year because of this global growth.
That's the front page story in the Journal today. That's the above the fold story.
Absolutely.
Dollar.
And one of the offshoots of that is that the U.S. trade position does better in an environment where the dollar is weakening. So we could see some impetus for growth from exports a little bit, and some downward pressure on inflation.
And the market's recognizing that. We're seeing U.S. industrial stocks do a lot better. If you want to play exporters, that's how you do it.
I want to move on to health care, also a major focus for the Trump administration. GOP lawmakers like Senator Rand Paul now said to be looking into alternatives after Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell delayed that vote. Heather, I want to get your take on this because I actually, just from a layman's perspective, can't get my head around the idea of splitting this in half and we're going to repeal and then have a separate replacement bill. I don't know why Rand Paul is talking about it, just quite frankly.
Well, because Rand Paul has a base that wants repeal, and many of them don't want to replace. Remember, the libertarian perspective is that we were largely fine before, and we shouldn't be starting from where we are now. We should have been starting from where we were then. And if you move to a straight repeal, then you start from where you were then. I don't think politically that that's remotely going to happen. You might be closer to the Ben Sasse model, which is you have repeal, but it's delayed in the implementation with some sort of follow-on that's going to occur. The real calculus is going to be when politicians look at this, are they going to be more punished for doing nothing, or will they be more punished for doing something that is maybe not everything that they had hoped to do all in one fell swoop, but it is better than where we are now? And I suspect that where they're going to come out is on that latter. It's not perfect, but remember, they've structured this as a three-phase reform effort. They're not getting as much as they would like on this because they're doing it through reconciliation, which doesn't let them get at the Title I regs, plus there's political pushback. And the largest challenge is that Republicans are terrible at talking about the benefits of what they want to do. They get into the weeds of process and they have a process discussion, but they don't understand how to talk about all the increased choices and lower costs that they're going to be providing people. And you get these mythological claims by Bernie Sanders of people who are going to be dying, ignoring all the people who are presently uninsured and not dying, but these claims about women being hurt and all the rest of it that are just not true. And the left is better at narrative, the right is terrible at it.
And there are two things that burn me in terms of the language that you're hearing from some of the Republicans, both Republican governors like John Kasich and some of these Republican senators like Corker or Rubio or Rounds was on Maria's show last week talking about I'm thinking about not repealing that investment income tax, that 3.8% income tax on investment income in Obamacare. Kasich is crying hard times about Medicaid when his state spends 43% of the all funds budget on Medicaid, when he's sitting around spending 14% on education, kindergarten through grade 12 education. Again, they're not willing to cut spending, and they're willing to get behind a tax increase. And ideologically, that's not conservative, it's not Republican, it's Democrat.
No, well, look, Republicans are just as capable of being pigs at the trough as Democrats are. And it's money, and they want it to come into their states. That's particularly what you're seeing from these governors who expanded Medicaid at the federal government's expense, pretending that it would never come home to roost, which it clearly was going to.
One point about this idea that you repeal now and replace later, that's actually not possible legislatively because it all has to happen in these reconciliation bills. If you try to repeal now in one reconciliation bill, then you have to replace it in another reconciliation bill, and that's already taken up for tax reform. So you can't do it logistically. You have to do it all at once.
Thank you for the wisdom.
Look, there's ideology, but then there's reality. Ohio, unfortunately, is the epicenter of the opioid epidemic in this country. They have to deal with that. Otherwise, there's going to be an angry population in Ohio saying, "What are you doing about this?"
Fair enough.
That's a big issue.